after having my son, I think it was a good solid 2 weeks. And I will tell you that there was so much around that experience that I was um, back home living with my mom and my partner. Like my situation, my financial situation was pretty destitute. I remember, and this will give highlight to a little bit of my experience. I went into labor. I was having contractions. My mucus plug came out, like all of the, really exciting things that tell you that you're in labor. And I was having contractions for hours and hours. It started at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And then my mom comes by the room right around like noon or one. And I said, Mom, I'm in labor. She had slept in, like she sleeps in on the weekends or used to. So I wasn't gonna wake her, but she came in and she looked at me and she said, Did your water break? I said, No, not yet. And she said, Well, then you're not in labor. And she walked away. So the lack of validation, the lack of support, and then my partner and I were going through a lot. I actually became a single mom when I was 6 months postpartum. So there was a lot of going on in my life where I just felt I wasn't good enough financially. I wasn't good enough in my relationships. I wasn't good enough for my mother. So there was a lot of things that were transpiring in my life. And when postpartum came around, um, I I felt, I remember specifically my mom saying, What are you doing? Like, why are you still like sitting around? It's been 2 weeks. Like, get up, go walk, go do, go do stuff. Like, what are you doing? It just got really dark. And I remember not wanting to cook for myself. And that was a responsibility that was on me, right? My parents were, yes, living in the home, but they were cooking for themselves. You go grocery shopping and you cook for your own self, right? I was paying rent. I was like, it was a very difficult situation where I wasn't getting a lot. I've not actually shared this publicly. I wasn't getting the support that I absolutely needed.
Can we just take a moment and talk about millennials and their parents? Because the experience that you had with your mom and with your parents is heartbreaking. And yet, I'm sure that there were moments and aspects of their parenting that were so amazing, right? And that you're so grateful for. And I'm your friend, so we've had these conversations in depth for years. I think that there are so many of us as millennials, myself included, where we are so grateful for who our parents were in our lives. We can see how supportive and how amazing our parents were. And yet, I don't know if you can give any insights on this, but what it seems to me like when millennials became adults, I don't know if it's how much information we had available to us at our fingertips. I don't know if it's the kind of the breadth of opportunity that became available for us career-wise because of the internet. I don't know what it was, but I found that when I became an adult, I completely lost my parents. And all of a sudden, they became the center of their lives, and their absolute number one priority became their comfort, right? And it was such a contrast from what I saw their parents do, right? Like the amazing silent generation, right? They spent their entire life in service to others. And obviously, there were things that weren't amazing about that generation as well. But I mean, I just remember like my grandmother coming for a month and she did everything, cook, clean, took care of us kids. I was the oldest of four. So I have distinct, clear memories of all of this, and then, my experience was just so vastly different. And even thinking about my kids, like just the recognition that I had when I became a mom of like, this is a lifelong vocation. I'm a mom. And then I don't retire. Like, then I'll be a grandma, God willing, And it's like, and I expect that to be work. And I expect to have to show up for that. And I am so not alone. So many of my friends have the exact same experience where we don't have any allo parents. We don't have any support. Our retired parents are too busy. They've got too much going on. What is going on, Miranda?
I have spent a lot of time diving into this because this was a huge component. And I shared just a couple of examples of my own experiences and my times with my parents. And it's unfortunate, right? But I also recognize, I look at what my parents have gone through and I see very clearly, oh, okay. The amount of trauma that they have experienced and what they have gone through in their lives, I can see exactly why they did the things that they did. And it makes sense for me. And it's not an excuse for anything that they've ever done. And my parents are very, very similar in that they're doing their own thing in their own life. And they want me to show up with my four kids. Like, why don't you come by? And I'm like, I'm so busy. But you can come by anytime. You know how to get in my house. Like, we thankfully we've been working on our relationships and they've been working on themselves. They've spent the last 10 years getting sober, and doing all this amazing work and taking really good care of their health. And I'm very, very proud of how far my parents have come. And also, I have spent over a decade healing. And I'm not saying that I'm healed. Like, there are still things that come up for me that I'm like, oh, that was really hard. Or like, wow, I really, really felt that. And at the same time, and I can actually share a story because this is like real for me in the here and now, about how this transpires in like different levels of healing here. But it was a lot of work to get into that space. And I tell you, I think our parents are just insanely traumatized. And not to say that we're not. I think we're traumatized because they were so traumatized, and we're living in a world of like so much, we all got so much trauma. And when we came into this space, I don't know exactly what it was, but we're like, mm-mm, the buck stops here. I'm breaking this generational trauma. I'm done with this. I have no idea what it is about this generation I almost feel like it's become a trend, and one that's here to stick. And I'm
Correct.
so glad that we've become so consciously aware of the effects that our parents in which they have raised us, and our experiences, not just how our parents have shaped us, but you know, uh, the things that have transpired in our lives, the difficult and the wonderful, the things that have happened in school, the parties that we went to, like the crazy things that have happened in our lives and in our world, and how that all affected us. And we are more consciously aware of that. And I think we are making some significant changes so that our children don't have to carry the burden that we have carried. And in that, we are healing ourselves. And I'm so excited for this generation. I mean, they are healing. So we've healed so much for them.
Mhm.
And of course, we can't do it all. And I'm probably leaving behind a lot of things that I can't even see that my children are going to end up having to heal. And I'm okay with that because I know what I also have left behind, and things that they would never even get to. They don't have a clue about. And really, I do truly believe that they have done their best and that I get to do my best. And it's going to be way different than what they did. And that's
Brenda,
very healing for me.
and that's such a gracious response. Like this, that was an important reframe for me of like how traumatized must they be, right? And just really thinking about how much our generation emphasizes emotional healing, how much we emphasize emotional intelligence. It is such a gift to be able to, and I think that's where we're all trying to get to, is to be able to look at what they did and just be like, I'm so grateful. And this recognition of we're so different and that it's totally okay. And I know for myself, I have really been working on not taking it personally because I look at my kids and I'm like, oh my gosh, if my child is having a baby, it is like 3 months off. I'm going to go live with you, like, or wherever you want me to live. If you want me to be in a hotel, whatever, right? And just like so all in as much as they'd like me to be, right? While also allowing them to set healthy boundaries. I think that I'm doing that because I love them, but actually I'm doing that because that's who I am.
Mm.
And I
Uh,
think it took me a long time to feel like, oh, they must just not love me because they're not doing what I need, right? They're not giving me what I need as parents, but that's where they're at and that is who they are right now. Anyways, I'm so grateful for your story because that was a reframe that I needed. So thank you so much for that.